following program is a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market updates and trading strategies. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block. With your host, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com and co-hosts Mike Tusaw from KnowYourOptionsInc.com and Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Options Express. Don't spend time worrying about your broker. At Options Express, security, stability, and account protection are the most important responsibilities to our customers. Secure account access, enhanced financial protection, entrusted with over $7 billion in customer assets, established financial stability. Options Express lets you trade with confidence. Stocks, options, and futures, all in one account. Trade with a specialist. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio to open your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
All right, and that rockin' music has me pumped for yet another episode of the Option Block. My name is Mark Longo, your host for this bi-weekly options extravaganza, and I am joined on the old all-star panel by quite the eclectic mix of contributors, starting off with the man who has the day in his title, good old Federal Holiday Mike, a.k.a. Monday Mike, a.k.a. Mr. Mike Cavanaugh from Know Your Options, Inc. Mr. Cavanaugh, welcome back to the show, sir.
It's great to be back. I'm getting used to it not having a federal holiday on a Monday, and this is our second week in a row we're back without a federal holiday. So
your plan is falling down around your ears, sir, to miss the show whenever possible.
I think it's Casimir Pulaski Day today, so technically I think we are a federal holiday, and I'm going to have to complain to some union or HR department about my
I am eating pierogies as we
show.
speak to celebrate good old Casimir. And we are also joined, speaking of delicacies, we are also joined on the show by the man who appreciates a good Maine lobster or two, none other than Andrew Giovinazzi of Option Pit, a.k.a. Slinky.com. Andrew, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. The Slinkies are flying. Although the market, I think that rockin' music today sort of belied the activity of the market a little bit. I don't know if that really did today's activity deserve that rocking guitar? That's all I want to say. Don't you have like a sleepy flamenco guitar, you know?
way to set up our listeners with a quality tease there in the beginning. Stay tuned, listeners. There's a lot of fun stuff to come. We
are good, though. We are good in Maine and Option Pit.
A lot of gentle, fun, quiet stuff to discuss in today's show today. Theme music notwithstanding. Of course, Andrew, we had quite the soiree last week, and you were the lone Option Block stalwart who couldn't make it. Unfortunately, you couldn't make it to the frozen environs of Chicago for this one, but it was a fun soiree nonetheless. And
I heard all about it.
Yes.
That was the best part.
Yes,
I don't know if it's better to see it or to hear about it the next day. I haven't decided.
Your better half represented you well, sir. Let me just say, I've never seen a man break a glass twice at a bar before.
Well, he wanted to make sure he got his money was worth, so he consumed for both of us. It's almost like I was there.
Yes.
Yes.
He did threaten to consume the entirety of our bar package, and he made a valiant effort on that behalf. I will say that.
Mark makes an effort, no doubt about it.
Hence his missing the show today. He had to sleep a few off. But we are joined by another man who attended our soiree and yet still made it in one piece today. None other than Mr. John Grigus from Options Express. Mr. Grigus, good to see you at the old shindig last week.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself immensely. For your listeners wondering about Mark Longo's taste, I got to tell you, top of the line. Those mojitos were waiting there when I walked in the door, and it really did kind of put a spring-summer feel into the festivities that night. It was a good time.
We don't spare any expense when the OX boys are coming to the soiree. I made sure.
Yeah, it was nice to drink all night, drive home. I only think I hit a couple guardrails and maybe one or two people. No need to worry there.
Hey, we had the shuttles. We had the shuttles to the train.
From the Options Insider party, Mark was like, make sure if you get questions, you tell them exactly where you came from. And I said, okay, I'll do that. But no, I mean, it was like go to bed at 11:15, get up at 5 a.m., come right. I'm like, I should just get a hotel next time.
Well, we had the shuttles to make your life a little bit easier, but we could only take you so far. We couldn't take you all the way out to. I don't think the shuttles would run that far out to where you live, sir. That would be quite the.
No, I don't
quite
think
the
so. I do think that guy running the shuttle, I think that was his first night working or something, because he took us on the lower Lakeshore Drive, then got on the lower Wacker, then realized they were having construction. So Tim and Tusaw barely made their train. It was interesting.
I had a little to do with that. I can't lie. The $20 tip that said take him the longest way possible.
All right, and with the team assembled, we shall dive right into the trading block.
The trading block.
All right, and as Mr. Andrew alluded to oh so cleverly in the intro there, it wasn't exactly a rip-roaring day on the old street today. We saw the major indices mostly close down around a fraction of a percentage point. The S&P down about 0.4, almost half of a percent to 1364. The Dow down a whopping 15 handles to 12,962. The NASDAQ leading the charts down nearly a full percent to 29.5. And the old VIX cash ticking up 4.5% to 18.05. So a lot of this sea of red that we're seeing on the street today. Even Apple, yes, Apple can sell off 2.5, almost about 2.25% today. And the bulk of this sell-off we saw today was out of the somewhat shocking or surprising news, I suppose you could say, that China actually can lower its growth estimates. China is just this engine of nonstop growth. How could they possibly ever lower their estimates? And yet today they came out and lowered their forecast. Not much, by only a half of a percent, yet that was enough to send the bears into a bit of a tizzy, and I'm sure that contributed to the Apple sell-off, because as everyone has been saying ad nauseum, as Apple approached these dizzying valuation levels, people kept saying, where could they possibly sell more iPods and iPads and iPhones? And the answer has always been China, China, China. And, of course, those riots we saw a few months ago outside the Apple stores just fed into that narrative some more. And yet today this news seemed to have clipped a little bit of the wings. Of course, I'm sure Apple could use probably a little bit more wing clipping. It is getting a little frothy. They were pushing 550 at that point, up almost 10% since we last discussed how absurdly valued the stock was about a little over a week ago. So, Uncle Mike, you guys have been busy over there in KYO, I'd imagine, just managing the pretty much Apple portfolio full time.
Yeah, it just keeps moving up. I mean, we're just the people that don't understand what a hedge is in place for are like, why did we ever do this? Why did we ever hedge this stock? The answer is pretty easy. Even if you're collaring Apple and you have a higher concentration in your portfolio in Apple, you're still outperforming the overall market. Granted, you're not up a blustering 200%. Like if you were just long Apple, but how many financial advisors out there in their right mind would say, just get long Apple and that's the only holding that you'll have in your portfolio? It's just not what you do. But if you collar Apple, you can have a larger concentration of your portfolio in Apple. So in the last 3 months, countless rolls and adjustments, but we're currently positioned. We've got the Apple. We're still long the underlying. We're short the 560 call in April, long the 450 put. So we've just been making a lot of adjustments. You're outperforming the overall market if you're in Apple and you have it collared with a higher concentration than what a normal traditional advisor would be comfortable positioning your portfolio in. so to speak.
I know you guys had gone naked long for a while, or at least naked long with the puts. You guys finally decided at these lofty levels to write the upside of that collar again, huh?
Yeah, we had it. We had no upside on it for a little while, probably for a 40-point gap, but nothing through the lines of craziness. Maybe a week and a half at the longest. We had at the end of January, we had a Feb 465 call on. We got out of that. We got in the April 490 and kind of sat for a week or two, and now we're back in the April 560. So there's been a number of adjustments. I mean, if you look at year to date, we've taken a drubbing as far as losses go on the hedges, to the tune of, let's say, 100 shares, you'd be down $4,000 on 100 shares on all of the adjustments that we've made. But if you look at the Apple chart, since the beginning of the year, I think it's gone up more than $41.
Yeah, it's up 35%.
So yes, the answer there is yes, it has. You caught me off guard, and now I'm getting into the actual numbers of Apple. Started the year probably around, 390? 420, we'll call it. 400. So, yes, we've lost $4,000 on the hedging, but yes, we've made $5,300 on owning the outright. So,
talk about first world problems for your clients. I was starting to wonder if some of them might start calling up, just because Apple has been such this explosion to the upside, and even the most educated of clients after a certain amount of time are going to start. I'd imagine, especially in a name like this that can do nothing but up, will start bucking against the concept of hedging, even though it makes complete and total sense, and that's what they should be doing, and they should actually be happy to have those hedges in place. I'd imagine even the most disciplined, after a while, it's got to get hard for them to say, hey, just buy me more Apple. Why not? Just put 100% of my portfolio into that Apple, Uncle Mike. Why not?
Well, it's a good point, because you really don't see the value in hedging until your neighbor is all in on Apple. That's basically what it comes down to. So you're in Apple and your neighbor's in Apple. You're hedging and your neighbor's not. And he's driving a fancier car all of a sudden, and he starts dating the blonde in the neighborhood that everybody wants to date. And you're like, collar and Apple. This guy's got it uncollared. And then Apple goes to 400 and you're fine. And he's like selling his car. The good-looking blonde in the neighborhood dumps him, and you're hedged. So the funny part about hedging is you don't see the value until the event that forces you to hedge, or that you're hedging for in general, happens, and then you're thankful. So,
listeners, I think we just got a glimpse right there into Uncle Mike, or should I say Monday Mike's fantasy life, a very rich and fulfilled fantasy life that it is there.
Was that out loud?
Oh, yes. At least good thing the wife doesn't listen. I think we're all set there.
She's getting right in. Through iTunes, mind you, top 20 on iTunes.
Yes.
She's a fond listener of.
Is she really? Oh, I should say thank you. I should say hello to Mrs. Monday Mike then, and Mrs. Federal Holiday Mike, and hope you're enjoying the show. Our audience of one out there on iTunes. But of course, other things have been happening in the broad market, and I know a lot of our listeners and a lot of the general market folk are all up in a tizzy about the name we were talking about on the last show. Good old Yelp. Of course, they went public and had quite the surge to the upside after their IPO. And I'd imagine, Mr. G, you guys received one or two phone calls about Yelp over the past few sessions?
Yeah, we did. I didn't realize they were going to be going public so soon. I thought when we talked about it last Monday, we were still 3 to 4 weeks out. I really hadn't heard much news about it being last week. But
surprise.
Here it is. Here we go. We need our money quicker. We got some bills we got to pay. But yeah, no, there was a lot of conversation on the phones about Yelp. Really, people get excited about it. They place me market orders. I don't care how much it costs. Not really the best way you want to trade. And then it trades for a couple of days. And then our follow-up question will always be, when are the options coming out? Because I need more leverage. You guys don't margin this stock day one. I can't believe it. Well, how dare you? When can I get options on here so I can get a little bit more leverage? And like any of the other IPOs, it's usually about 8 to 10 business days we'll probably see those show up on the site.
How cynical of you, sir. I'm assuming that it's all of your very savvy and nuanced clients who are looking to get long the underlying and then institute proper risk management, perhaps with a collar or perhaps with a protective downside put. There is no need. There's no need for over leveraging.
Right? I mean,
yes,
that's
exactly.
how you do it. You don't go for the big gains. You get for the return, and you protect your profits, and you use hedges as they were intended for.
Because I assume the person who's calling up day one on the IPO to you and then demanding to get in on a market order is a very savvy and nuanced fellow and understands true and proper risk
when they start the conversation off as like, I want to buy it at the IPO price of $15, you know. Oh, okay. How much you got in your account? Oh, $1,800? Well, that's not. Then you can't play.
I'll take one, please. One share. one Yelp. So yeah, I'd imagine that took up a lot of your time. It will be interesting to see if this name follows suit with the options of all the other ones we've seen, where those conversions and reversals just get out of control because the put wing is so jacked, is so bid, because everyone and their mother wants to get short this name. You can't get short it. There's a mini downside surge on the name if it follows with all the other recent quote-unquote social media. I'm not sure if Yelp even counts as social media. I mean, they're really just an online review site. Does that count as social media? You can post comments, I suppose.
I think their IPO probably did better because it was lumped in with that social media.
Oh, I guarantee you they accelerated it once the Facebook and everything else came out. They knew if they came out post-Facebook that they missed the end of that wave, so they need to get out ahead of that. And then they get another...
Even if you're selling nuts and bolts right now and you're going IPO, you're social networking stuff. Come on, let's get realistic.
You can comment...
Social bolts.
You can comment on my widgets.
Social nuts and bolts.
Yes, you can comment on my widgets produced at my factory in Taiwan, and that makes me a social media company.
We're a social networking company.
It's amazing. Just everyone. I mean, Yelp's been around.
Funny.
Go ahead.
I know. I was just doing before we started the show a post on what's going on in Zynga again, because it's been such a decent trader of a stock, and now the name actually has gotten a little harder to borrow, and it's been moving in a little more fits and starts, a little more volatility, but. For a while, it was just kind of a nothing happening, but now it's starting to get pick up that same sort of activity. So I'm sure Yelp will be yelping from at some point. The shorts will be yelping as they get squeezed because they'll all be piling in too early. So we'll wait for that yelping.
Yet another time when the underwriter, the iBanker, left some cash on the table for the old client. What did the stock? What was it, up 60% on the opening day? You have to wonder why people still maintain the need to go that route, to go public. You know, there's so many better methods to do than go to some arbitrary firm who will charge you an arm and a leg and then get it wrong. That's a fantastic business model.
Every time we see that on the IPO day, we have a long-running joke here. We're like, oh, I feel so bad for those underwriters. I mean, they put all that time, energy, and money into getting it priced right, and then they're wrong again by 60%. You just can't get it right.
They didn't put enough water on their radishes in the game of Farmville.
You know, I was kind of hoping after Google did their Dutch auction thing, how many years ago now? Many years ago when they went public. At least it's been over 5, I believe. If not longer, that Google's been public. And I thought that would kind of set the trend for more firms adopting that route and going that way. And yet we see these names who are well known, obviously as a serious interest in them. People are calling you guys up day one, John, to buy the stock and market. I mean, there is an interest in this. You could go that Dutch auction route or a number of different ways, and there would be enough interest, I think, to set a valid price as opposed to this opaque system that these iBankers and underwriters use, where I guess they call up some of their heavy clients and be like, hey, what do you want to pay for this thing? And then it kind of goes that way.
They get you to like it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Can I get you to go ahead and like this on Facebook, and we'll sell you the shares?
You don't have to commit to it. That just says you may be interested in one Yelp sometime in the near future. But yeah, I mean, how many times do you have to see this process, you know, where it's just absurd, particularly if you know you're launching into the teeth of a social media froth, and you know you're launching early because of that and trying to take advantage of that. Maybe you want to take full advantage of that froth, but apparently not. I don't know. Perhaps that's why I'm not an underwriter / iBanker. Either that or I can't stand wearing a suit to work all day. That probably would drive me nuts too.
Yeah, but you get to take off the suit and the tie once you get to the office. You just had to look good getting in there.
Of course, I do look pretty fancy when I'm on the radio. I do have to say that. I occasionally shave. All right. And Andrew, what are you watching aside from Zynga and your love of Zynga over there? Have you guys loosened the downside on VIX a little bit? Are you letting up the reins? Or?
No, it's funny. It's one of these things where sort of everybody's kind of has a position, and they're just waiting until March 8th or 6th, 7th, 8th. That's the time frame. As these Greek guys say, you must take the debt deal. So, it reminds me of the thing. You can't pay the rent. I'll pay the rent. You must take the debt deal. So that seems to be, I'm liking it, this market to kind of like run up to Gulf War war and Gulf II wars, where just people are kind of sitting on the sidelines, not really doing anything. Volatility is expanding because nobody sells it, all except in the individual names. It's a very, it's kind of an odd, actually, you touched on the Vol radio show last week. It's sort of, people kind of have their bets and they're waiting. And whether anything comes of it or not, they swap the debt, everybody will be looking at each other. Who wants to buy this stuff now? I think it might be hot potato time. So that's another thing. And just some curious just in UNG I know you guys talk about the commodities, but the never-ending ability for that ETF to decline. A lot of love. Again, and vol-wise, yes, that's definitely the thing, and it's sort of like a just wait-and-see thing.
Well, UNG must be doing well then, because it's tracking nat gas pretty consistently.
Yeah,
right?
It's funny. I looked at it last week. I saw it actually looking a little more volatile than it should for a 4-for-1 reverse split, and it's down 10% from a week ago.
Oh, yeah, 4.5% today.
So, and actually the volatility was moving up, and people were kind of bidding it up after the split. And I've said, oh, maybe I guess they think it's just going to go $15, and that's kind of what it looks like it's doing. So it's a very, I think that contract was just built to go to zero, no matter how many times they reverse split it. It's one of those great investments where you started with 100 shares at some value, and now you have lots of shares worth nothing. It's like it's the producers, like Bialy stock.
Yeah, they oversold it. It's the opposite.
UNG is.
The opposite of TVIX, where it's getting bit out of control over there. This is the opposite of that. It's just imploding.
Yes.
It reminds me of a call we had today on a reverse split. This guy was trading penny stocks, and he had 3,500 shares. It did a 1 for 10,000 reverse split, and he wanted to know where all his shares went. Well, you get cash in lieu of fractionals. There's your $8. A 1 for 10,000 reverse.
That's a quality name right there. I need to get some of that.
So they can pound it to zero. I just really, it's amazing that they do that. I'm surprised Citi actually survived that. Although that hasn't done too well either since they had that reverse split.
No, that hasn't exactly been a banner move for them. They kind of dropped about 15%, and they kind of just been hovering there ever since.
Yeah, at least that is generally the kiss of death with just about anything.
At least back in the day, they had that old HFT money keeping them afloat. They stayed at 4. They never went anywhere, but they did a lot of volume, so it made everyone happy. At least
right.
all the exchanges and everybody else was happy. They could leg in and out. All the HFT guys could leg in and out of their fee arb at no risk. It was a great money machine. And yes, Andrew, you're right. You did make some interesting comments earlier, or I should say, went up this morning on our Volatility Views show, and I encourage all of our listeners, if you are Option Block fans and you haven't had a chance to check out Vol Views, by all means, go check it out. It's a fantastic show. We've had a string of fantastic guests, and we did have an interesting discussion about the VIX and how low it could go last week, as well as a great conversation about weekly options and a lot of other elements of the volatility world with our guest. I urge all of our listeners here to go check out Vol Views. It's a fantastic show. You can find it on the OptionsInsider.com website, as well as the old Options Insider Radio Network in iTunes. Just search for Volatility Views. If you search for Andrew Giovinazzi, unfortunately, it will not come up. So don't try that.
I'm not large enough yet. I am not large enough yet.
Your presence in the iTunes store is still not prominent enough for that. But
they discriminate against Italians. That's the problem.
Yeah, somehow I managed to sneak in under that radar, but the rest of the Italians are completely screwed. I guess, or you can view it as I'm the trailblazer. That's how you see it. I'm an iTunes pioneer for my fellow Italian Americans.
Well, Longo, it's not a total Italian. There is a vowel, but they could have been confused.
It was Longuido. He changed it.
It was
cut the weed out of it.
We're from the Irish Olongos. We just took off the front.
That's such a Chicago South Side thing. The Italians and the Irish guys. At my club down there, they used to have an Italian and an Irish flag, and the guys would flip it so the Italian flag would always be forward, and the Irish guy would see it and flip it the other way so the Irish flag would be in front of it. That was what they did for entertainment, I guess. Back then. It
was very, very slow times in the 1850s down there in those gentlemen's clubs you used to frequent back in the day, where they held your brandy snifter for you and your walking stick.
Exactly. And there was just the men's room only. Yes.
I'm surprised Irish and Italians were invited to a club back then. That was a very progressive club.
No, that was definitely that was it.
All right.
A lot of Irish and Italians.
You think Sebastian was here the way we're going down this rabbit hole?
I do have one addition. George was like headlocking me. Talk about this stock. He really likes it. Fusion IO, symbols FIO. Steve Wozniak recently signed on maybe a year ago as...
I've heard of this one. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what they do, though.
Who really knows what Steve's role is? But they develop a storage memory platform for data decentralization, enabling customers to improve processing capabilities. Their two largest clients are Apple and Facebook. George is drooling over this one.
What's the symbol?
FIO, Francis, India, Oscar. Fusion IO Inc.
Yeah, I think I heard of it back when Woz jumped on the board. But that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge of this one. Obviously, that was a strategic board placement in order to get some access back to the old Apple land. But if they're a supplier to Apple, then there are worse positions to be in this day and age, since Apple pretty much can buy out whatever you can sell them and more of whatever the hell it is you're making for them. But yeah, this is an interesting one. They say they're a provider of data-centric computing solutions, a combination of hardware and software that places data closer to processing. So they make a NAND flash memory. Interesting.
Yep, something with the cloud, something with the interweb.
It's like back in 1999. What does it do? I don't know. It's internet. Buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's .NET in it. It's .NET. It's .NET.
Apple's involved somehow. Just buy it. All right.
The key word here is it's one of many solid-state drive competitors benefiting from the revolution in storage provided by solid-state memory. Coverage, blah, blah, blah. Somebody from Credit Suisse named Keller says he gives it a neutral rating, citing customer concentration issues around their key customers of Apple and Facebook. I don't know. I mean, if my two customers were Apple and Facebook, if I had those as customer concentration issues, I might think I might be okay.
It's not like Kodak is your main customer or something like that.
If you're all in on Zenith and Kodak, you might reconsider. But if I have concentration issues in Apple and Facebook, I might be okay with that.
They're not going anywhere, at least for the next year or two.
I might lean a little to the buy side from neutral.
Exactly. Pick the good companies. Don't pick the junky ones.
These SSDs are definitely the wave of the future, and this is where all these companies are going. I know a lot of these names, particularly in the traditional hard drive space, got walloped a month or so ago when there were those massive floods in Thailand where a lot of these hard drives are made. Maybe these guys, because they make flash, maybe they're not, they weren't made in the same area, so maybe they kind of weathered that storm a little better. I'm looking at their chart for the past
Dude, the volatility chart, you got to buy the juice in this thing. This is a bargain.
There you go. You heard it from Andrew.
This is like a screamer.
Andrew says load up on straddles in FIO.
30-day vol absolute low is 70, and the options are trading in the 60s. I think you want to own that juice. It's the classic. The names had this little run up.
Yep.
They've kind of pounded the volatility down, and now we're sitting here at this sort of still about $7 below its year highs. And they just have annihilated. It's like all this name volatility just is annihilated. Everybody just buys the weeklies. But yeah, this looks like the old personal account's going to take a hard look at this one after the show's over.
There you go, George putting some money in Andrew's back pocket there for his personal account. Yeah, the old April 30 straddle trading about a 62 vol. Looks like it's about 5 1/4 bid or so. So. Interesting stuff. You could leg into that 25, 30, 35, or even 40, Iron Fly or Iron Condor for decent levels. Not a bad little one, Uncle/Monday Mike. We'll have to peruse that one.
Let's keep our eye on that one, boys.
We'll put it in
I think we will. You know what? Look at how good he is when he shows up and there's no holiday.
Yeah.
He comes
It is
in with
Casimir
just
Pulaski Day. It's a half holiday.
He comes in with a slam dunk-ola. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. FIO, everybody.
All right, so that is going to do it for the old trading block. I mean it this time. And now we're going to dive right into the odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, and I love that little flourish there at the end of that theme. I just love it. Perfect music to set up the old odd block, the portion of the show where we dive into the interesting and or the unusual and sometimes the downright dubious options activity that's lighting up the tape today. We're going to kick things off in the somewhat social, I suppose you can call it, but more internet web 2.0 sphere with Pandora, ticker symbol P. And it is ironic that a tech company can get a single word ticker symbol, a single letter ticker symbol like that. Reminds me of the old days of C and telephone and all that fun stuff. You don't see many tech names going that way, but I guess not too many ticker symbols in the P's. They had their choices. So good old Pandora. This is a name that does about 3,000 to 4,000 contracts a day of late. Today they did a whopping 28,000 contracts, almost 29,000 contracts. The bulk of that was coming in after a couple of developments. They have earnings tomorrow, or after the close, I'm sorry. So that is, of course, driving a lot of interest in Pandora today. And as well, we also saw an analyst upgrading the name to buy from hold this morning. And that combination of the two sent the stock off to the races, up about 5.5% today to 14.66. And more importantly, it sent the bulls out in force ahead of the earnings here in Pandora. We saw call buyers across the board pretty much. The bulk of them very near term, focusing for a pop ahead of, or into earnings, I should say, with a ton of just upside call buying here, a ton. We saw, we had a 9-to-1 call to put ratio on Pandora for the day. The biggest chunk came in at the March 16 level. Bear in mind, these are almost weeklies at this point. Well, not weeklies yet, but they're coming in on a little over about 12 days left to go. And these have earnings tomorrow. They did about, almost 9,000 contracts on the day on an open interest of just 917 contracts. The bulk of these were buys with the average price in the 44-cent range. They went out 55 cents at 60, so that worked out for the bulk of these buyers who got in early in the morning. We also saw the March 17s. These are substantially bullish people at this point, picking up about nearly 1,000 of the March 17s going up with an average price in the 17 to 20 cent range. So a lot of just near-term, far out-of-the-money bulls diving into Pandora today. I find it interesting that there's so many bulls in Pandora, given this is the name that was on the ropes just a couple of years ago, and they were almost out of business given all the licensing issues that were coming out of the music industry, and now here we are a year or so later, and people are diving into as much upside as they can get here. 10, 15, 20% out of the money calls here in the front month with less than a couple of weeks to go in March. Interesting activity, if perhaps not the most nuanced of activity. I imagine these are the same people, John, who are calling you up this morning looking for market orders in Yelp, are the same guys who are loading up on these March 17s and March 18s here.
You know it. I mean, and some put sellers too. Not all of our clients are directional where they'll just buy some out of the money calls, but also in there and at least be a little more intelligent to sell some puts and pick up some of that premium. I think it's in the vols in the low 100s compared to that stock we talked about earlier, which was a bargain in the mid 60s. But I think we talked about earlier on the radio show that anytime you have an IPO in any of these social media ones, regardless of the news that came out on Pandora today, you still see some type of volume buyers thinking, hey, if this thing is showing some follow through that the rest of them will also move up. So beyond the news, we saw that as well in Pandora. I've written puts on here before too. I like the music. I use it probably on a daily basis. It's turned into a plethora of ads, which can be a little bit annoying, but hey, I'm not buying music anymore.
That's where the money comes in, baby. That's why everyone's loading up on Upside. The more ads, the more people are buying calls, apparently, in Pandora. It must be some correlation there.
Ad Dora, that's what they should call it. I mean, it's pretty bad. But, it's revolutionary, and I know it's been around for a while, and they struggled in the beginning, but I'm not sure what the upside entails or when it will start moving, but I don't think it's going down.
I don't know how much money
I like to continue to sell puts. I'm just waiting for the weeklies.
Yeah, that'll be the next one they'll add to it. I'm not sure how much money there is in music streaming these days with the license fees are so expensive, and they're pulling in a serious amount on ads to offset that. Because my biggest problem with Pandora, the reason I stopped using it a couple of years ago, is because you type in the name of the whatever band or group you want to listen to, and you get one song from them. Then you get 47 sound-alikes from some band in Cleveland or whatever the case may be. That people they say you swear you're going to like, and then you get one other song from that band you actually want again, and it's kind of I suppose for a discovery tool it's interesting, but still it's a bit of a crapshoot these days on good old Pandora. Yet, by all means, buy Upside. Why not, right? That's the thing to do, apparently, today in Pandora. Yeah, now we're going to shift gears completely away from the silly social / web 2.0 land and into the serious business world of equipment, technology, and other services for the oil and gas sector. Of course, talking about Baker Hughes, ticker symbol BHI, closed today at $48 and some change, down about 2% on the day, and we saw a bunch of puts changing hands in BHI today. That was the moral of the story. This is the name that does about around 10,000 or so contracts a day. They did about 17,000 today. The bulk of those, over 5,000, came in one big put right here on the March 47 strike. We saw about 5,000 of these changing hand. Open interest just a little under 2,000 contracts, so this wasn't a roll here. And it looks like the bulk of them were sold for about 54 cents, which is about where they went out today. So this guy's still looking about unched on the day. This is someone who apparently thinks the worst may be behind here in BHI. This is the name that's down since October, when it hit its high back in October 27 of $62 roughly. This thing's down about 23% since then. This guy's obviously thinking that this downside is going to peel back at least for the near term for the next couple of weeks, and has no problem with picking it up down a little bit south of the 47 strike. We were just talking about Nat Gas and UNG before. Uncle Mike or Mr. Grigus, you guys watch Baker Hughes at all?
They're like, Baker Hughes, what the heck is that?
All right, then.
It's not a social network.
I know. You can't comment on their oil and natural gas services, so what's the point? You can't.
Yeah, sorry about that, too. I was talking for a little bit, and I realized I had mute on, but
did you?
Feel like a rookie.
I thought you were a little quiet for you. Okay, good.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, we do get a lot of people, have shown some interest in the energy sector, specifically RBOB and crude oil, with gas being above $4 already in February before we switch over. But the particular Baker Hughes, no, we don't have too many people calling on that. There's just too many choices out there these days to get into and to be involved in the energy markets that Baker Hughes isn't their top choice. How about you, Kavanaugh?
We really haven't followed Baker Hughes. Sorry.
All these oil services stocks, though, are down across the board from the fall. They were like the safe play. It looks like everybody piled into, and I think everybody piled out of them and bought Apple over the last 6 weeks or so.
But if you can't review strip clubs on it, then what's the point of even following it at this point? It's not a fun name if you can't review Atlanta strip clubs like we done our last show.
They do have 10,600 plus likes on Facebook. Good old Baker Hughes.
There you go. That translates into some dollars and cents somewhere. I don't know how.
Somebody's figuring how to make money on that.
All right, and that is going to do it for the old odd block today. And now we're going to dive right into the Xpress Block.
The Xpress Block, brought to you by Options Express. Options Express lets you trade where and when you want for every level of trading. From advanced charting, free daily trading ideas, and free educational resources, Options Express is the online broker for all traders. Best of all, Options Express allows you to trade stocks, options, and futures all in a single account on powerful yet easy-to-use trading platforms, including mobile devices. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio for your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
All right, and welcome to the Xpress Block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where the boys from OX get to hold court and I get to relax and have a nice, tasty beverage. So, Mr. Grigus, what is going on in the land of OX? What is taking up your time aside from all those market orders in Yelp?
Unfortunately, we talk about it a lot, but it was Apple. I mean, if you saw that midday move when China came out with that cut in growth. I mean, Apple was trading in the low 540s and sank down to 526, and it was just vol just spiked. Options got expensive, and my trading strategy is like a moth to light, and I've been sitting in these puts for a whole 2 weeks now in Groupon. As I had mentioned earlier, I sold some out of the money puts, and unfortunately, I went to go close it today, and I saw Groupon was down $1, so I did get a small winner on there. Not bad, 4% for 2 weeks. But I had to get into that Apple, and since I swore off that I would never buy Apple puts until I got out of the first quarter of this year, and so I went into a bear call spread. So what do you do when you don't want to buy puts? You want to get a little bit of premium in there, and since I've been doing well selling premium, I moved into the 550, 555 weekly. I only had to hold on to these for 5 days.
Aggressive, sir. I like it. I like how you're thinking, though. A man who's not afraid to sell upside in Apple is a courageous man indeed. You're betting against all the zealots coming out against you.
I don't know. I was desperately trying to find some news. Realize it's only 5 days. I got it for $1.30, not too bad. And like I said, the weeklies are your friend, so we'll see how that works out. I mean, it ended up being okay at the end of the day. I just felt with such a move and a takeout of this downside, any of these supports we took out the last 4 days, that you could see the move today, and then we could settle down and kind of hug today's range for the next 2 to 3 days. Like I said, I'm only doing weekly, so I got to wait till 3:00 on Friday. So
yeah.
And when I sold those, the vol just went through the roof. So that's what you do when they're expensive, right? You sell the vol. But that also affected silver. So we did get a lot of calls on silver as well. I think at its low, it was down 80 to 90 cents. Didn't really have an effect on gold, but we were seeing a lot of calls in silver. And on the other side of the spectrum, I know you and Andrew and Mike were talking about the SPX earlier. And if you go to the Options Insider Radio Network website, you'll see the SPX banner for the SPX PM. There was some small news that started out last Wednesday, Thursday, and Mark, you may be aware of it, but they put out leaps in the SPX PM.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah, that were listed, I believe, on the 1st or 2nd, last Thursday or Friday. But they're going out to DISA 17 now. Options Express has them on the site. The people on the desk, we continue to push this product. I mean, the bid-ask spreads are just so much better than the SPX. I'm still surprised at the lack of volume and open interest that has occurred on these. You would think that they would just have taken off, but it's that double-edged sword where people don't want to get into it because there's no volume, and there's no volume because people aren't trading it. So
yeah, it's weird for all the noise we heard going into this and all the lead up and all the all the hysteria over this in the months leading up to this launch, that it would ever even get done, and all the pushback from the pit crowd on the SPX PM and all the resistance they've had for years to electronic. All this stuff added up to pretty much a not too much, at least not yet, in terms of volume or anything really interesting. It hasn't really siphoned off any volume from the pit or really led any volume back into the pit. There's not a lot of back and forth trading going on there. So yeah, it really hasn't lit the tape on fire yet, which is kind of interesting given all the buildup that went into this product. And now to see that
there was a definite push on the marketing side. And this other event too that you probably well aware of, they may have done this to kind of get more retail investors trading this market, but they changed the current algorithm for executions. I believe before it was pro rata. I actually thought that wasn't the case, but I thought it was like a FIFO algorithm. But looking at the press release last week on the SIBO website, And if you have time, I mean, it's another great resource is their education and the SIBO website itself. But as of March 1st, they entered into a new logarithm for a market turner priority overlay. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the old one was that if you had a order for 10 contracts and a market maker followed up with a 100 lot, the investor would get 10% of the trade that came in to offset the ask or the bid. Now they're entitled to 50% plus a pro rata share. So they're kind of increasing or leveling the playing ground for the retail investor.
Yeah, they're clearly making yet another play at retail. That's the whole push behind this XPXPM. You mentioned their marketing. Look at all their marketing behind it. They're really going after that aggressive spy trader and trying to say, hey, why waste your time with 10 contracts when you could just do one here in the SPXPM? And so this next move with the pro rata is obviously another clear step along that front to lure those active retail back away from SPY and into SPXPM.
Yeah, so I mean, just another push to make it more tempting or more inviting for the retail client. So add that to the tight bid ask spreads and the 10 times multiplier. I'm thinking we may see a little bit. Since I overestimated the amount of people that be trading it the first few months, I'm sure they'll start to take notice. Good execution and tight bid ask spreads is really all you can ask for.
What SIBO needs to do to draw some more attention to these products. They need to go public again, and this time sell themselves as a social networking company. You can comment on your trades and things like that, and then everyone will be lighting up the tape in these products. Won't be able to get enough of them.
Yeah, that's what they need to do. I mean, it's a social media year, so.
There you go.
That's really all we have on the desk today. It was a quiet Monday overall. Dow down 15 points.
Yes,
expected.
It's a big one. Post Yelp, what can you do but sleep and relax?
But ironically, I mean, this was the biggest down day in the NDX for year to date. So I guess when Apple moves, the NDX follows.
Yeah, when Apple moves, it takes a lot with it. That is interesting. Good old tech-heavy NASDAQ tends to lead the charge on these down days, and that's with Apple leading the charge for everything else, that makes a heck of a lot of sense. So yeah, interesting one to watch. I'll be watching that call spread with you, sir. My fingers crossed that the zealots don't come back out in force. They don't see this as yet another buying opportunity for this unbelievable upside stock.
I can't take it anymore, and I'm almost upset at myself that I got back into it. But
you can't stay away. It's like a battered wife.
I wasn't spending $1,500 on at the money puts for 3 days out. So I've kind of reduced my exposure here a little bit.
There you go. All right, sir. Thank you for that. And now we're going to dive right into Around the Block.
Around the Block.
All right, and welcome to Around the Block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where we talk about what we're watching on our trading screens for the next few sessions. And we're going to kick things off with the man from Maine, a.k.a. Mr. Lobster Bib, none other than Andrew Giovinazzi. Andrew, what is going on? What is on your trading screen? What is on your horizon for the next few sessions, sir, aside from the land of Greek and the land of the euro?
Well, that would be the VIX in that whole complex, Lobster Bib. Yes, we're again waiting for the market to just blow by this once and for all. And I am getting a little more interested again in the UNG and all of, strange acting ETFs. So that part of the gig just never gets uninteresting. And obviously, all the single stock volatility is going to ultra low levels. I think everybody's believing that the indexes might not be able to move, but I think these individual names will be able to do some moving once somebody finally, lets the air out of this Greek bubble, this bad Greek soap opera.
This bubbling baklava, as they say over there. And it is interesting that if you want to trade VIX effectively these days, you almost have to be up on the geopolitics of the Eurozone before you even position these days.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
You got your Debka subscription. You got your subscription to, the Greek, what is it, the Athens Daily or something?
The Athens Daily. You can do all the statistical analysis you want on realized versus implied volatility and mean reversion in the volatility landscape. If you don't know what's going on in the workers' union over in Athens, then you're out of luck with these days.
Yeah, I think they just got to tell those guys to just go, go kiss off.
Okay, so
You guys actually think they have some negotiating power. Just see you later. And then just let it become a mess for a couple of years over there. Think of how cheap the vacations will be.
go eat some delicious saganaki and let the Germans run things. That's what they want to do anyway. And we all know Germans are much more efficient. Let's just face it. They're just an efficient folk, even though their cuisine not as tasty. Let's give it.
Does not reign supreme.
Let's give it to the Greeks when it comes to cuisine. That's for sure. I don't go to Germantown for dinner very often here in Chicago, wherever that may be.
One restaurant.
Yes, it's a very, very scary part of town. All right, thank you, Andrew, and Mr. Grigus. What are you guys watching over around the block in the land of OX? Obviously, the 1099 debacle is behind you, and the Yelp IPO mostly behind you, at least for a week or so till the options come out. So what's next on your own personal horizon aside from loading up on Apple puts?
I'm going to still be watching Apple. Now that I hold a position in there, I couldn't resist. But
you missed the one. You missed the one down day here, or are you long puts again?
Non-farm payroll if for us. A lot of us on the desk still have futures background, so we'll be watching the non-farm. They moved it to the second Friday of the March because it had fallen so early, and I don't think they wanted to collide with Pulaski Day for Monday Mike or legal holiday Mike.
That Polish lobby is powerful. You don't want to mess with them.
Me being Polish Irish, I really look out for this and celebrate this day. But they're looking for 275. We have a market insight up there, and people are pretty bearish. They're not thinking that we're going to surpass that number. And if you've seen the revisions for the previous months, every time this thing comes out, have been pretty bullish. So, the trend is up, and I'm thinking we're gonna match that level or surpass it. So we'll be watching that for Friday, kind of set the tone, and also the EU and what other wrenches they can throw into the to this bull market we got going here.
The Eurozone and what's going on over in the land of the Euro / the Euro these days. Almost synonymous. Can't talk about the Euro without Greece these days. And good old federal holiday Mike, aside from tossing in the occasional NAND flash memory producer, what else are you guys, and of course, rolling those so pesky hedges in Apple, which actually paid off today at least. What else? Maybe those calls will let up for a day.
There's always something going on at Know Your Options. Our weekly newsletter that George pumps out, he's looking at 3 or 4 stocks every week, and then we run it through our Spank machine over here to take a look at any kind of option plays, whether it's an iron condor, a butterfly, call spread, put spread. We're looking at things all the time, and encourage people to listen to the show, to give us a call, shoot us an email. We'd love to take a look at something that you're looking at. There's a good chance that we're probably looking at it. We've got a board in the office that has all the earnings dates for the stocks we're watching and a little write-up on it. So there's a good chance if you're watching a stock, you're looking for a little additional color on it, let us know. We'll take a look at it, and we'll shoot you straight. So that's what we got going on. And I did see the Lorax this weekend with the kids, and I recommend seeing it.
Ruin it for me, Kavanaugh. I've read the book. I like the book.
Well, if you read the book,
I saw
this
it.
might be a case for the movie's better than the book, actually.
You know what? And do you guys hear about that Zac Efron? I don't even know who that is, but he drops a condom at the premiere. Yeesh.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
I didn't hear anything about that. But
you guys didn't hear that? Oh, he did. He was going to the premiere last week, and then he went to go shake somebody's hand on the red carpet. And some condoms
condoms fall out of his jacket somehow. Is he carrying them in his hand as he's shaking hands? What is going on?
In his jacket, I don't know. But anyway, yes, I'm sorry.
That's
Sebastian's
cool.
not. Sebastian's not here. And
I know you have to fill his role.
I always feel that there's some.
I did see the Lorax as well, and it was interesting. It's certainly you can't call that movie subtle by any stretch of the imagination.
There was no subtlety.
No, there is about as little subtlety as a sledgehammer to the face in that movie. So yeah, if you like that, then you'll love this movie. Definitely interesting. I think I like the one they did before this same company, Despicable Me. I like that. I think a little bit better, a little more subtlety, at least a little bit, to that one as opposed to Lorax, which is
Despicable Me, a very good movie.
Yes, I love that movie. I prefer that. I probably would watch that one again over the Lorax, but that's just me. Little man liked the Lorax, so I got the job done there. in that sense. All right, thank you for that Monday/federal holiday, Mike. And by the way, I love the man, whoever's in charge of the branding over there, the Wheel of Fun and the Spank Machine. I love it. Keep them coming.
Yes.
That's some good marketing work over there, sir. I like it. Technical terms all around. All right, and with that lovely imagery, that is going to do it for the old Around the Block segment. That's also going to do it for this episode of the Option Block. I, of course, want to thank all of our listeners out there for downloading and streaming and subscribing to this show and making it such a success. And I also want to thank all of my compatriots for joining me on the old All-Star panel today, starting off with the lobster bib himself, good old Andrew Giovinazzi. What is coming up in the land of Option Pit you want to tell our listeners about?
We have a, I quote, professional course on trading the SPX from our very own SPX trader Mark Sebastian and Russell Rhodes from the CBOE. They're doing an all-day seminar in New York on March 24th. So if you want to learn how to trade the SPX and not get taken to the hoop, I highly recommend it. There's a lot that goes on to trading the SPX. You got to know how to. It's good to know how to trade. I spent a year in the SPX myself. I think you did too, Mark. But I mean, the products.
I cut my teeth in the SPX. That was my first pit. Breaking into that pit on the CBOE. That was pretty fun. I was the man in the back.
That's a good first pit.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah, that was interesting.
Hey, Mark, did they welcome you with open arms?
Oh yes,
they were. This spot.
They were very welcoming.
Open.
I had to
exactly. Here, I got a spot for you. Also, you make a mistake, that's $500. Oh, now to handle $500.
So yeah, I'm on the badge for the first time. I'm learning the ropes. I'm also battling with these people to get a spot in the back of the pit. It was fun. It made it interesting. Definitely a good on-the-job trial by fire kind of thing.
All right. I meant sell 2, not 20. Oh my gosh!
Anyone who thinks their job is stressful should try that someday. It's intriguing.
Yes.
An intriguing.
Go be an SPX ARB clerk.
Yes. But yes,
that's what we're doing with the CBOE. We've done some things before with the CBO and Russell Rhodes and the Street as well. So they are all, and this will be a live webinar. And basically, you learn to look at the SPX the way, learn to look at the skew and all the stuff you need to know to trade it. And it's very, I would say, here's a big word, germane to what's going on right now and how expensive the out-of-the-money options are in the SPX relative to really what's going on. So.
All right. Thank you for that, sir. And next up on the old plug block, we have none other than Mr. John Grigus of Options Express fame. What is coming up in the land of OX, sir? Any interesting live events that may pique the curiosity of our listeners?
Upcoming events, live events, we have, of course, the Indy one, but the Phoenix one on March 24th that we will be doing. If you haven't been to a live event, they're a lot of fun. They are free. Jim Ruzon is Seabass's counterpart. I believe Mark, did you ever work with him? He was in the SPX pit and the OEX pit.
I never did, no.
His, I guess his acronym was BLT, so bacon, lettuce, tomato it is. But they are free. You can sign up online or just give us our customer service call, and we'll get you signed up for that show. That is, March 24th, which is a Saturday in Phoenix, Arizona. We do have a major Schwab call center down there, so if anybody wants to take a look at the Express method and utilizing options for market sentiment as a potential stock replacement, head on down there to the Arizona Grand Parkway. Arizona Grand Resort. Sorry.
Our listeners really want to see us, though. That's the moral of the story. So we'll have to arrange another live event for them. Maybe we'll finagle an option block recording on one of these upcoming Options Express live events. We'll have a special special guest panel or something.
Jazz Fest that's going down in New Orleans.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. I'll be down there. Mr. Kavanaugh will be down there. A lot of people will be down there. You should get OX to float you a ticket down there, and you can come join us.
Yeah, it's good. Good idea.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Grigus. And last but not least, good old Monday Mike, what is coming up in the land of KYO?
This Friday, we're having another world-famous Lunch and Learn. We're going to be talking about 401k and payroll solutions for small business owners. We're doing that in our office, so if you're in Chicago this Friday, you can give us a call. We usually do it the first Friday of every month. We'll bring in a expert in any given kind of field. This month it's 401k payrolls. Next month we're going to be talking about a timely how to report taxes for option traders and futures traders in the office. If anybody's in Chicago listening to the show is interested in one of those, you can send an email to info@knowyouroptionsinc.com for more information. But other than that, the Spank Machine, Wheel of Fun, always on. There's always new components going into the Spank Machine and the Wheel of Fun. So if you have any questions about something you're watching, you want us to take a look at it, let us know.
Spank Machine and Wheel of Fun. A lot of people might be scared to come into your offices these days, not knowing exactly what is going on in there. But
we could call it a triple income program. Whatever you're comfortable with. We can tailor the name of it to whatever makes you comfortable.
I'm going to call my advisor up right now, talk about the Spank Machine and some Wheel of Fun. I'll get back. I'll come see you in a few minutes, honey. That sounds, I like that. That builds confidence. That's good stuff. All right. And, of course, if you want to hear anything or want to learn more about anything we discussed on the show today, the unusual options activity, some of the options or trading news, the analysis, the education, the information, all of that fun stuff, as well as all the other programs on the old Options Insider Radio Network, then by all means, surf on over to theoptionsinsider.com. I think you'll like what you find there. And that is going to do it for this episode, but we'll catch you again later on this week, right here on the Option Block.
Become a part of the Option Block. Just visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/forum to post a question for the hosts. You can also submit questions to twitter.com/optionblock or leave a voicemail at 312-544-9356. Make it interesting and your question just might make it on the air. The Options Block is property of the Options Insider Incorporated. All rights reserved. The preceding program was a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/radio or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.